what you avoid is often what you will fall back to. And what you avoid is what's going to follow you. So you can't just avoid it and just block it out like it doesn't exist. You have to face it head on, and you have to acknowledge and actively take the intentional steps to change that. The second thing is guilt and shame aren't good tools to use pretty much ever. They're only, okay, not ever, but they're good tools only for a spark, which means you want to use them as a spark only in the very beginning. You can't use them long term. You cannot use them long term. I'm going to tell you right now that it's been tried and tested. That does not work long term. You can look at any kind of addiction and everything. Guilt and shame don't work. So with that out of the way, I will say that, okay, you can't remember all of the reframes and in the moment. So it's not about remembering actual specific reframe, and this will take practice and time. And I think that's very important to keep in mind. You just got to drill it into your head. You just got to keep remembering, keep putting the blockers in place, have an alternative, and have different things that you can do that will keep you from going back to that relapse place. Because otherwise, you're just going to continue in a cycle, which is what most people do.
Yeah, I like that, because what you're pointing out is that avoidance alone doesn't cut it. If all you do is shove it down and hope it disappears, it just waits for you in the dark and eventually drags you back. You've got to actually face it, name it, and then redirect it. And I hear you on guilt and shame too. Like, they might give you that short burst of, ugh, I never want to feel this way again, but if you try to build a whole recovery plan on them, they'll crush you. They're accelerants, not fuel. So let me push this. If long-term recovery isn't built on guilt, then what is the better long-term fuel? What do you tell people to run on once that initial spark burns out?
See, that's interesting. And I've been thinking about that a lot recently. And I would say that anger can be used as the spark again. So I think better than guilt and shame, anger is a good spark. Now, you don't want, it needs to be controlled anger. You can't be angry against yourself or other people. You have to be somewhat angry about the situation, and so that you kind of just, you get mad and you say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Basically, you're not getting mad at anything. It's not a hate. It's not hate-filled anger. What it is it's, God damn it. It's no, but not actually, only if you can have the emotional control to do that. If you don't have the emotional control and you're going to have, if you have, say, anger issues, no judgment, but if you have anger issues, or if you have, you're going to fly off the handle if you delve into that, then that's not for you. You don't have to use that. However, it's an amazing spark, because it will, if you can use that as a small, short burst of energy to push you to start the momentum, then the momentum will carry itself. Well, you'll have to keep pushing the momentum, but you'll start the journey, I don't want to say journey because that's kind of long-winded, but start the actions of pushing yourself away from that relapse. And the other thing, other than anger, that you can use is, well, like I said before, like getting in a flow state. And the highest one that you can use is love. You want to use love of something, of yourself. And I think love of yourself is one of those things that it's the most hard for people to understand and the most difficult to actually conceptualize, to think about, and to really have a mental image of that. Because what, are you going to hug yourself? It's like, how are you going to have self-love? How is that possible? So I think self-love is really not as much, doesn't feel as strong as maybe love of other things or people. So I understand where people might be coming from, where they don't understand the concept of self-love. Self-love, I would say, is taking care of yourself and taking the actions for yourself. And it's not necessarily, I'd say self-improvement is self-love. It's not necessarily doing something, feeling that same kind of love that you feel for other people and other things. However, that same kind of love for other people and other things, that can be what you hang on to, and that can serve as a ginormous, immense anchor for yourself. Because what you can do is you can tie it to that, where you think about those other people, you think about those other things, and you say to yourself that if I give into this now, how will that be affecting them? And even if that's, maybe you don't have that yet, say it's kids, say you want future children, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to, how do I word this? You want to be a more upstanding, let's say, man for them. You want to be someone who is capable of conquering his own demons and not having to put it with the least amount of judgment as possible, dirty little secrets of things that you have to hide, where you have to put on a mask for other people. You want to be your most authentic self for them. Or it could also be a love interest. If you don't have a current love interest in your life, you can have an imaginary one. Now, bear with me, it sounds kooky. I'm not saying be kooky about it. I'm saying that you want to be able to show up for him or her in the future. You want to have that. You want to be able to be that kind of person for them. That you don't have this, because how will that affect them? And if you think about that, and you think, and sometimes doing this, it's not a one-to-one thing. People have success in varying things. But in this community of recovering from porn and any other compulsive sexual behavior, it's often that you are, sorry, I got distracted. It's often that you, in these communities, that these behaviors feel like they push away that kind of thing. That if you are constantly using porn or masturbation, that this is going to push away any potential partners. And so if you think about that, and if you buy into that, I'm not going to comment on one way or another, because it's not necessarily, I think that's a more personal belief, and that's a personal subjective. It differs from person to person. So, but if you feel like that afflicts you, if that affects your life, and that's the case, then you can realize that doing this is going to directly influence your life and push away a potential partner. And so you have to decide which is more important, having this little small relapse of a small few seconds or up to however many minutes of short-term pleasure, or building a long-lasting relationship and a life with someone. And so you have to really put it into perspective. And I'm not trying to build goals for you. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. So you take what you want out of this. But that is my perspective of that. Those can be useful tools for you. Do you want to have a few seconds of that, or do you have to have something else entirely that is a much higher calling to you? Because to a degree, if you wouldn't want to stop and quit if it wasn't affecting you negatively in some way. I don't think anybody would do it just because, it makes me feel a little bad afterwards. It's got to be actually negatively affecting you in some way. And since that's the case, you can use that. What is it robbing from you? What is it taking away from you? What is it blocking you from getting in your future? So by using that in the moment, you can steer yourself away from a potential relapse. Not saying it's going to be easy. Not saying it's going to be, okay, yeah, no, I dug deep, and I'm not going to, because I value that more. It's still going to suck. It's still going to suck. You're still going to have to feel that discomfort and not want to turn away from it, but know in your heart that is the right move to do, that you know that that's the right choice. And so you can use that, though, because you know that is the right, that can be a mantra for you too, that's the right choice. So I think also another thing that you could use is, so we're talking about love. If you're religious, I'm not pushing any religion or any kind of thing like that, but if you're religious, you can use the love of God or the universe or any kind of thing like that too. I just wanted to mention that quickly, just because some people, and I feel like a lot of people, could get use from that you can further, you don't want to disappoint or do that to God or the universe. So I think, yeah, that's my point. That's what I think. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, you can watch the full version right here.